RWBY Volume 4, Episode 5, Menagerie. This is a really awesome episode. We get to see Menagerie, we get to see, of course, a ton of faunas, we get to see different types of faunas. They have, I mentioned this for the World of Remnant thing, we did get to see, for like a split second, I believe it was a lizard-like faunus. He had like, kind of like scaly little patches at least, and really tiny horns. So, that was really awesome. We get to see, this place that's full of faunus, as well as some humans. I think there were some humans in there. It was a little hard. I was trying to look at everybody. I'm like, there might be something I'm missing. If I'm looking at their face, I might miss something like anywhere else. So I believe there were some humans thrown in there, and they kind of specifically mentioned that from Blake, where she's like, it doesn't matter who or what you are, you're welcome, in Menagerie. So they go through that. They talk about, of course, the history of the faunas just a little bit, and how they're kind of just thrown this land to kind of, shut them up and everything. And I loved what we got to see. I thought Menagerie was kind of cool because it's kind of its own little thing. Like as far as real world connections, it's like Australia, where it's just kind of its own little thing. But as far as visuals, it looked a lot like Hawaii. At least for when they did like the expansive look, it was kind of, it looked like a Hawaii sort of thing. And I thought that was really cool because it kind of starts off, they're getting off the boat. It's a lot like a beach and everything. Everything looks nice and it's all sunny and beautiful. So I thought that was really cool. And then we find out that Blake is like a part of like the super rich family. And for a split second, and I guess in a sense, she's kind of like a princess when you think about it, because her father was like the leader of the White Fang, which is what we find out. And I read a comment that somebody mentioned from like Volume 1, where she says, I guess you could say I was born into it. And that's what she says to Blake, that's what she says to Sun when they're first giving us the history of the White Fang. And it's like, oh, she was literally born into it, and that was the connection that, because her father was the Grand Leader, and then he decided to be like the chief of Menagerie. So that was really awesome. So he's got like an insane position. There's only 2 people in this house, and they have like a super epic mansion. And you see in the first episode, or in the first like 3 minutes of this, when they're walking around, all they talk about is like, man, it's kind of cramped and it's a lot of people. And when they show the houses and stuff, it's like, here's a little house and here's one like right here. And there's just people walking in between houses and stuff. It's like you go in, but you don't have any sort of yard or anything like that. There's no space for you to walk around that's truly your own, except within your house. And, they have the little cube huts, basically. And that was crazy. Like, they go down this giant path, this giant mansion of a house. And it was awesome. It was really cool. We get to see Blake's mother first, and then we get to see her father. And I want to mention this. So, of course, this is in the opening. When they first showed the opening, I was like, okay, eventually Blake's going to get to Menagerie. And they have the scene with Blake and Sun, and then her dad shows up and pushes him out of the way, and then her mom shows up. I thought her mom was her sister from that opening. Like, she looked younger than Blake to me, and I thought that was supposed to be her sister. And then when they actually showed her, I was like, oh, that's her mom? Like, this whole time, I thought that was her sister, because it was like, it's like a quick split second, and she, kind of hugs her in the opening, and I just assumed, like, oh, she's shorter than her and stuff like that, and she looked young. In the opening, I didn't see, like, the little lines and stuff, and I always thought that was her mom, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's her and her sister and her dad. And then when it's revealed, like, it was her mom, I was like, holy crap, I swear I thought that was her sister this entire time. So that really surprised me. And it's like, so now she's officially an only child. But that really caught me off guard. I was like, this whole time, totally thought that was her sister. But it was still cool. I like both of them. Her dad hates Sun, which was a hilarious scene when they're at dinner. And he talks about, I've seen her in action and she's got some great moves. And of course, Blake instantly freaks out. And Sun doesn't realize what he says, and which is why I love when he's pointing at her. And he's doing like the little nod. And then the dad's like, what exactly do you mean by that? And then he freaks out and he's like, I'm in as a fighter and stuff, and like, she's an excellent fighter. Not to say that she's not attractive, because she is. She's very attractive. It's like, or maybe attractive. And then he's like, she's definitely above average though. And so it was really funny the way they did that scene. And apparently Blake's mom has total approval of him, and I love what they did in this episode. Like all the ear twitches and stuff, especially with Blake when they're first walking. Blake has like a million little animations with her ears, where her ears go down because she was sad about how just the state of affairs of everything. Like, we're given this island to ourselves, but we were given it as like a consolation prize just to shut us up. And so she's hopeful, and then he'd say something and she'd be like, yeah, but it's about this, and her ears would go down. When she's embarrassed at the dinner table and stuff, and like her ears go like almost flat when her mom's like, I like him, and she turns to her really quick and she's like, Mom, and her ears basically go flat. And then right after that, when the door slams, her mom's like one ear, not even both her ears, just one ear that's closest to the door like twitches, and then she turns after the ear twitches. I was like, this is like some amazing detail that they've been able to add to like the animation of like the smallest little digits, even though her mom's ears are really huge compared to her own. But you can see it for sure. Like you can see like just the little, like the tiny difference in color, because it's like gray and then fully black. But it was really awesome. I was like, I love, like, those are just animation wise, that was what I really noticed this episode. But going through it, we get the White Fang showing up again, and that's how we get the epic reveal that Blake's dad used to be the leader of the White Fang. And we find out that it's not all of the White Fang, it's still kind of subsects of the White Fang that are going rogue, and it's specifically Adam. He's doing his thing to be the evil villain, and we have someone else mentioned, I believe they said like Ilya, I believe was the name of this character, so I'm sure we'll get to see her at some point this season. And if not, then of course next time. But they reference her, so that's someone else that is really close to Blake, which I would assume, now that we find out her dad was like the leader of the White Fang, I think a lot of people would be fairly close to her and know who she is, and would love to see her again. So I'm actually kind of excited to see her go into a different sect of the White Fang that isn't 100% evil because of Adam. So excited about that. Of course, we have the 2 monk guys who are like, we're definitely not like that, and we're super nice and this and that. And then they walk down the stairs, they're super evil and yada yada yada. They still report to Adam. Someone made a great comment where the dude who doesn't have the big ears, he has a wolf tail. And they mentioned like he's a wolf in sheep's clothing because of what he's wearing. And I was like, that's actually really cool. That is a cool little reference that they threw in there. And I didn't notice that until the person put that comment there. So that was really awesome. But of course, the 2 guys, I assumed they were evil because of the opening. And then when they showed up, I was like, oh, they aren't actually evil. They're this other faction of the White Fang. Like, they're the good part of the White Fang. And they're kind of there to show the differences between these 2 things. And then it's like, no, they actually are evil, and that's exactly why they showed up in front of Adam, because it's Adam, and then it's these 2 guys as the White Fang stuff. So that explains how Adam ends up in that opening sequence where he's attacking Blake like in the desert. That makes a lot of sense now. And they probably are, there's some people that follow Adam still on Menagerie, so maybe he'll just flat out come there. He's like, oh, well, I need to go kill her, I guess. They have such an awkward relationship. I don't even know what his deal is. Like, he's just so evil. I thought it was just going to be like he's upset with her, but he's like, I mean, we saw what he did to Yang, so I don't know. He just wants her dead. And he tried to chop her head off in the last volume, too, when she did, like, the shadow image. He, like, decapitated the image because he still thought it was her. And he was like, alright. And he was going to chop her freaking head off because she left him, in that train the one time. So I don't know. Maybe he's just super pissed that she left because he had feelings for her, or whatever their relationship was, because we don't know exactly how close they'd gotten. But he's clearly pissed, so maybe he'll take the time and he'll travel there and he'll attack her. At some point, she'll end up in the desert in Menagerie, so we'll see how that goes. Or maybe not. Maybe it won't be in Menagerie, because they mentioned like it's not the same type of desert. Maybe she will leave Menagerie and go somewhere else. But I assume because they did just introduce her parents, we'll get to see more of Menagerie and stuff like that. And he'll just travel there, and it'll be insane. And maybe her dad and mom will come in and like beat up Adam. Maybe he won't die because he's so crazy. I feel like he's unfortunately at like a certain level of villain right now. But considering what he's done, I need to see him as the main villain for at least one full volume, and that might not happen for a couple of volumes. So I don't think they'll actually end up killing him for a while. But I think he will at some point become like a main villain. Like whenever they decide Salem is done, Cinder is doing whatever, if Emerald ends up betraying them because of some of the stuff they've shown with her, if all that starts to fall apart and Adam just is like, alright, well, this person's dead, these couple of dudes have been taken out, why don't I just take over, being the main bad guy, then he can die. But until then, I think they're going to be keeping him around because he's like, we haven't even gotten to see him really. I highly doubt kill him off in this volume because he's barely even been in the series yet. So I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna do that. I hope they do because I love him as a character. He's still my favorite character of everybody, even though he's a complete a-hole. But he's just super badass, so I can't help it. But maybe he'll show up fairly soon. Hopefully sooner rather than later, just because it would be very intense to see them go against each other, especially now that she's grown up and she's, I'm sure, been on her own for a long time and has gained even more skills. We'll get to see her be able to take him on a little bit easier. So I'm excited for that. Excited for the series in general. I'm excited for this next episode. Unfortunately, I saw this one late, so in a sense it's kind of good because I don't have to wait as long for the next episode. And hopefully it'll be a little longer because this was actually a surprisingly short episode. It was only like 11 or 12 minutes. And I know a lot of people were mad about that in the comments. But it was surprising coming off of the World of Remnant episode that we got such a short episode. I think this was the shortest one this volume so far. But maybe that just means all the other episodes will be longer because they're like, well, we got to finish this up and then get to the other stuff. So either way, still a great episode, short or not. But excited for this next one, of course. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I actually want to know what you guys think about the two monks that are working for Adam. Like, how are they going to affect the storyline of this season? Because I assume it's mostly going to be, of course, with them being in the White Fang, that's going to be Blake and Son's thing, and possibly Blake's parents if they decide to really include them. So I'm sure it'll affect them more than anybody else. Like I said, Adam will probably specifically only come right to Menagerie, and then it's like, oh, well, this has zero effect on anybody else. But even him leaving a certain location could have an impact on the other storylines because he is so important to this rebellion within the White Fang. So I want to know how you guys think these two monks are them relaying information or having information is going to end up impacting the storyline. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.